to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
There we are, episode 491 of the Trinity Force Podcast is headed to your ears. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. We enjoy talking to you every single week, and there's only two of us this Monday that want to talk to you, which is better than normally the two of us that happen to show up. So Dom and Beaver are here, guys. What's going on?
What's up, guys?
Yo, I like that.
Which one?
Like
Which
that,
part of it?
I like that intro. The first few things you said, I already forgot them, but doesn't matter. I liked it.
I hope everybody out there listening liked it as well, as I'm trying to keep it upbeat and happy because this episode might be a little bit of a downer, and I don't know if some of you are going to agree with some of my statements and how I feel about this game currently. I think Dom may feel the same way, as we've had a mini conversation about it. But before we get there, guys, don't forget to go check out BuddhaBoxers.com. You can go, BuddhaBoxers.com/T-Force, right? Is that what it is? Man, it's been a bit. BuddhaBoxers.com/T-Force. It's only been 7 days since I podcasted, so it all goes to my head. They're awesome boxers. You've heard us talk about it 100 times over. They're made out of bamboo. They wick away the sweat. They keep your nether regions nice and super comfortable. I'm wearing my pair again tonight. Try to wear them every single Monday because I want to wear them for this show because I know how comfortable they are.
You wear them every day.
God.
You wash your clothes.
No, don't know.
I have to say, if you're out there and you've never invested in a high quality pair of boxers, it's life changing. Seriously, You think like, oh, $30 for a pair of boxers, that's expensive. Like, it may seem expensive, but then once you get your slip into those bad boys, you're gonna appreciate it. So just go out there and buy one pair. You know, Buddha boxers are a good option, but there are other ones too. But you probably get a good deal on those. But I mean, just try one pair. It's life changing.
It really is. I agree with you. I didn't think it was until I put a pair on, and I've said it 100 times over. People probably say
I was like, man, I could go to Walmart and get like 30 pairs of boxers for the same price as one. Doesn't matter. The quality is like a million times more.
yes,
So.
you don't even know you're wearing them. Like I always find myself like adjusting my underwear, like when it gets a little older, right? Because it gets like worn out and shit. I find myself adjusting them quite a bit through the day, and then I slip on these bad boys. I don't ever have to adjust them, and that's what I love about it. And they're months old at this point, so it's awesome. Don't forget that we have a Patreon, patreon.com/T-Force Network. I know the holidays are coming up, and we're seeing quite a bit of slip in donations, likely one because we've been slacking and putting Champions League podcasts out, which I am remedying that now. Life changes have gotten in the way, but I have a couple more coming out for you. I'm looking for Gangplank and Galileo to come out here shortly, as well as we're still doing replay reviews and all that good stuff. So $10 a month gets you 2 Champions Select podcasts every single month, and if I owe you one, I'm going to send it to you. Anyway, $25 a month gets you a replay review. $100 a month, if you haven't checked it out, you can get on the show for one time and talk about anything you fucking want at all. You can swear the entire fucking time if you want to. You know, you can sound like a sailor like we do. It'd be great. So patreon.com/T-Force Network to go check that out, guys. Support us. We like to give you guys free content. We like a little bit of support in return, but you don't have to. We're going to continue pushing these out regardless. But
yeah, to add to that, I'm also going to start streaming probably in the next week or two. I built a desktop, so
Heartless Beaver.
I'm gonna get that up and going, and I also have a Twitter now. It's @HeartlessBeaver, so drop me a follow, and then I'll probably start posting the stream schedule on there. Try to work around my work schedule.
Good. So when we have the weekend games going, and I'm like, hey, is somebody streaming this? I'll finally be able to do it.
Yeah,
Todd's always streaming, and that's great. But he's not always playing with us. So.
Similar to the boxer upgrading from a laptop after 5 years to a PC is also life-changing. My God. My first game I was playing some Yasuo jungle. I couldn't believe how different it was. It made things a lot easier being able to see all the details. And,
oh my God.
Yeah.
And more the map, or more on the screen, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some solo queue this year.
Well,
and flex.
Speaking, yeah, I think this year we're gonna try to figure this out. Coming in with the new season, we want to take the Trinity Force crew, everybody in the crew to Diamond this year and flex. So more or less, we're playing fives doing it, and we're gonna try to figure out a schedule with that. Dom and I have kind of thrown some ideas around. We need to talk to everybody about, but that's not here or there. But hopefully, we can do that. Maybe we can put some more videos of that on YouTube of our games. So I do want to talk about the current state of the game with all the runes and whatnot that are out there.
Preseason.
Yeah, the preseason, right? And I just want to talk about like my overall impression of the preseason. And I just, start this out with, I'm very unhappy right now with the state of the game. So unhappy and before I say this, I'm unhappy because I'm not enjoying the game. And it's likely because, and I understand it's likely because of the role I play. Not just the runes, but when the game gets super, super snowbally, we're talking 24-minute, 25-minute average game time where Assassins are just dominating the game. I don't have fun playing anymore, and I don't need the game to be methodical and all that kind of stuff. It's just that when there is no chance or almost no chance of your team ever coming back, no matter how hard I try or how badly the enemy team fucks up, the game to me no longer becomes fun. And that's kind of like where we're at right now. And it potentially could be burnout from playing for 7 years at this point. But I've been finding having more fun playing more team-oriented games out that aren't just MOBAs than I have been playing League. Because I don't feel like League is very team-oriented right now.
I mean, coming from a jungler who just went through a horrific end to the season, like if you weren't playing tank support junglers, then you weren't doing League right in the last few months. I understand your pain. Like it sucks being having to sort of help your teammates out and delegate the power to others. But
no, it's not. It's not that. It's not.
I understand. Like you don't even hit your power spike because the game snowball out of control so fast.
Yeah, for those out there that maybe knew, I don't know. I play marksman, Dom plays support, and jungle is for Beaver over here. But I know there's some like early snowbally marksman you can play. Misfortune's a good one. Jin can do fairly decently, but we're at the point where if one person gets a kill anywhere, a jungler or a mid lane or whatever, they start to dominate and roll over the game, and they roll over everybody regardless of what runes and how they play. And that could be a symptom of people playing this game for a really long time, understanding how to play it better. But I really do feel that these new runes and the lack of armor and all that has forced people to play the game in a fashion that's more selfish. And so because of that, the games are more snowbally, and there's no time to come back and try to like replay. Like we were playing that game yesterday. Sorry, I'm going to keep talking.
No, go for it.
Beaver, you weren't there, but we played a game yesterday. I was Kog'Maw. I had 24 kills and like 4 deaths, and I still couldn't turn the fucking game around because 2 people just hit critical mass at like 13 minutes. And a Trinity shouldn't be hitting critical mass at 13 minutes, right? Where he's just mowing down towers and you can't deal with him. And I have to imagine it's a symptom of all the runes and lack of armor and whatnot that's in this game.
I definitely think that's one of the symptoms. I think another one is that since we're technically, we're still in preseason, it's early days. People are still trying out a lot of experimental stuff, and when it comes to a solo queue or a duo sort of situation, if people are trying new things, they don't really know what's good. They're going to stick to their strange builds or different champions, and then games are automatically going to become more snowbally simply because once you get a lead on your characters, the other people are playing things that are unoptimal and therefore are already going to struggle to come back from their lead, and that just amplifies it essentially. And maybe you would have more success if we played some fives, because I think that would change the dynamic a lot.
Well, we had a 4-stack yesterday.
Oh, did you?
For that game, so
okay. Well, I was just maybe not.
Yes, potentially. I mean, there's one less factor of those bad players, and I've been seeing. And granted, it's normal draft, so God knows what MMR we're playing with, but something's off, and I just feel like I haven't seen a preseason like this in a while. That there wasn't something. Like most preseasons, if the game is super snowbally, it's because there's one thing you can point at and go, Black Cleaver is the reason, Warbogs is the reason, people found out that Smite with Smite'ems is the reason, something like that. But right now, it's not like this rune is the reason it's happening. It's that there's a combination of runes that makes every assassin good. It makes every assassin be able to push their wave out and walk to the bottom and just dogpile the shit out of it and snowball because of that. And sure, your team can do it as well, but I don't know if people haven't shifted their mindset again. I'm going to pause and say that this has just been, I think this has been a symptom of League forever, where people realize bottom lane is susceptible to ganks. Bottom lane is susceptible to being dove all the time, and your team never does it, right? It's always the enemy team that tries to figure it out before you do. And the one time you do it, it feels fucking fantastic. But this has been that way for 4 or 5 seasons. Dogpile the shit out of bottom lane. So if you're a jungler out there and listening to that, if you get the opportunity, I'm not telling you to try to force something, but if you get the opportunity to roam the mid laner, dogpile the shit out of bottom. Stop going top. Stop taking that Rift Herald. Dogpile the shit out of bottom. Take Dragon, take a tower.
I don't necessarily agree. I think that's a game-by-game basis, to be honest. I often camp top, personally, and it usually goes well because we snowball the game out of control. And I think right now, since you were saying AD carries don't really get to hit critical mass in the early game, if you can snowball a powerful top laner, then it's worth doing. If they're not a bruiser, if there's someone like a Jace or a Quinn or whoever's playing up there, that character is going to hit some serious power spikes early and be able to dominate the game with you. So I think that's probably, in my personal opinion, the better way to do it right now. But as the game does progress into a lengthier state, like for instance, end of season 7, that's when you want to be dogpiling bot lane because AD carries are already super powerful. You want to, if you have the better AD carry, you win the game. That's how the game used to work. And I don't think that's a healthy state for the game. So whereas this is a changed state, I don't necessarily think it's worse than it was before. Just
honestly, I think junglers should be prioritizing mid lane. I think mid and jungle players are probably enjoying the hell out of the state of the game right now because early game is there's so much going on, so much emphasis on it because there's so much snowballing going on that if your jungler gets the mid lane, like even one kill, that should decide the lane. And quite realistically, it could decide the side lanes as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's healthy like the game where it was at Worlds for the better AD carry to win the game. That's how it worked in the Worlds final. Faker played the hell out of mid lane. He had excellent 3 games, still lost because he couldn't carry hard enough. Junglers were just supports. AD carries had all the power, and now the power shifted, and it has shifted probably too much in my opinion. And AD carries need a little bit more power, but that it must suck to go from being the most critical. No, I'm serious. It must suck to be you decide the game to now you have to have good teammates to be able to get into the position to decide the game.
Well, see, here's the thing, Beaver. You're coming at this from the point that as an AD carry, that I'm upset that I'm no longer carrying the game, and that's not true. Where yes, where AD carries, yes, the meta was defined by that. But my point being that AD carries can still carry a game if you have a decent team behind it. I mean, right now, more than less, the meta is pick a hyper carry, AD carry, and hope that your fucking team can just hold on until that AD carry kicks in, right? Or snowball out of control so the AD carry doesn't do anything. But I'm not bitching that I'm not powerful anymore, because I still do feel powerful with Press the Attack. Vayne, Kog'Maw are still really good. Jhin is a nice A tier, A B tier at that point, and you kind of got to pick your battles with those bottom laners, what you want to do. But my point being that when you have 2 useless champions out of bottom lane, feeding the fuck out of your mid and jungler with some free kills in bottom is more important than going top and giving this guy who still is always sitting on their island, like most top laners you play with, unless you're playing, I guess, high elo, even then, God knows, don't really leave and roam around. But that mid laner, like Dom said, is going to roam. If that mid laner can roam bot and start taking towers and dragons and snowballing the game out of control, yes, it's game-by-game basis, but my whole point is I'm not bitching that I'm not powerful. I'm bitching that people realize that they can snowball mid and jungle really, really hard at this point, and we're fodder to that because we have no defenses anymore.
Anymore? What were your old defenses?
Oh, the runes.
Oh, the runes, yeah, resistances. I mean, yeah, that's true. That goes across the board, though, and it must also feel terrible to be a bruiser player right now if you like main Darius or something. Like, they're pretty much useless because they just get hard kited out by all the champions. So yeah, I'm sure they feel your pain as well. I understand what you mean, but I have to stick to my point that it's all depends on the matchups. Like, you're not going to go, I'm never going to gank top for a Maokai on my team. or I'm never going to try and put a Malphite way behind or something like that because those characters are always useful. But if it's a super snowbally match up top, that's when the power will be transitioned better. But if it is a tank top, then you gank bot lane or mid lane.
I was gonna say, and to be fair, that I mean, yeah, every point we're making is based on the state of the game and the state of the characters you're playing with, and there's just inherently stronger characters in every single lane. We're too susceptible. The problem really comes back that squishy characters, not just bottom lane, because bottom lane is generally squishy unless you're playing Leona at this point. Bottom lane squishy and mid squishy. So if you're playing a squishy character, the Rengars, Kha'Zix, Katarinas, and all other assassins are just rolling over everybody regardless of your power level, and you can't do anything about it. We're back to the point where Rengar jumps out of stealth, one-shots you, and then continues to move on, right? And that's not healthy. That's never, ever healthy for the game when you can't outplay somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, having played against a number of Rengars lately and everything, there were several times where I anticipated what the Rengar was going to do because I knew, I was playing like a Karma or something. I knew what Rengar was going to do, and I had every countermeasure in place that I could think of to deal with it, and I still just ended up dying, and that was really frustrating.
I played Rengar with you guys last week, I think, and I'm pretty sure I got tons of kills. He's really good when you get ahead. If you're behind on Rengar, you're honestly useless. He's one of those characters that rewards snowballing, but unfortunately the masteries reward snowballing too much. I think, I really think not lethal tempo. What's the one?
Predator?
No, that's not the one. I'm going to look at my runes right now. When you use a gap closer or whatever.
Sudden impact?
Sudden impact, yeah. I think sudden impact is way, 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 way too good. And they need to nerf it. And
it's not like, I mean, sudden impact is way, 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 way good. Cheap shot is also really good. I mean, like the moment sudden impact gets nerfed, people are just going to start using cheap shot, and it's going to be almost as good for them.
I don't think it's going to be
there are like a handful. There are a handful of cases where like it makes a big difference. But someone like Rengar who can do one or the other thing, he's just going to use whichever one is better right now. It's not like nearly as much of a.
It has to be in parrots. You have to hit your E or have red buff to get the damage right.
Yeah.
And I think Electrocute's balanced. Dark Harvest is good too. A bit more situated. And then so is, I think the recent change to Predator was really good, but also sort of a niche mastery, right?
Right. Through all this bitching, overall, I'm happy more than less with the way the runes turned out. Yes, tweaking needs to be done, but that's always the case. I think the only gripe that I have, if we're just continuing to bitch, or I'm continuing to bitch really, is that there's a good tree that you can pick down, but like some of those secondary runes that you're picking up, I feel like unless you have a champion that can abuse one of those runes, the secondary runes kind of to me are more than less worthless. I mean, they're not worthless. They still help. Like Biscuit's really good, and Expansive Mind or whatever the hell it is, the 5% across the board. But there's just like little ones that you're looking at that mana flow band, right? Like it's good, but at a point it just stops being useful.
The problem is if you go domination into Legend, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, that's like, it's so powerful. It's such a good combination. Whereas if you pick other ones, they're not quite as synergistic.
And the funny part is, I don't know if I am as happy with the rune changes you are ultimately and everything. And I gotta compare the runes as they are right now to the mastery system that we had before, because that's what really is more similar. Like the old runes don't play into what I'm about to talk about here, but like it just seems like there are a number of the new runes like are different versions of masteries that we had, but in a lot of cases they're just worse versions. Like Mana Flow Band, I'm sure is really appealing to a lot of people who weren't getting the old meditation mastery, but as somebody who is always taking medication, meditation. Sorry. Okay. As somebody who's always taking meditation, like Mana Flow Band is just like a straight up worse version of that. There are a handful of champions that are better off with it, but most of them are just like, I would have actually just preferred the steady, reliable mana regen. And so now, like, that's the type of thing that's actually factoring into the quality of my games, I think. Or the Second Wind is the one that if you take damage right now, if you take damage, you get health regen over time based on how much damage you took or something, or missing health. but now there's no longer a just health regen stat. And I guess I get it, but I think it's that type of shit that's making things way more snowbally.
Yeah, I think a lot of it that's true, but like Adam was saying before, the lack of resistances is a serious problem, and we see it in bot lane with the ganks and stuff, but I think the place that it shows up the most is top lane. We used to have a super diverse top lane meta. You pretty much play any character, but now if you're playing a bruiser or someone who can't get into range, then if you come across Pantheon, Singed, Heimerdinger, Teemo, Jace, Kayle, like any of these characters, that's why they're on top now. Is because if you can't get into range of them, they're just going to destroy you, and they're going to keep destroying you because you won't be able to get gold to get items just because they can snowball the early game more than they used to be able to. And
there's more damage available to a lot of those champions on the top lane than there are defensive stats that allow you to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just keep finding myself wondering if Riot tried too hard to make things, quote, interesting, unquote, instead of like reliable, and if that is really affecting the quality of the game right now.
So, yeah, but I mean, if we look at everything as a whole, considering they did such a huge rework, like reworking all of those base stats, are you guys like unhappy about the job they did, or do you think they just need to do more tweaking over the next month?
So I was thinking about this just now as the show started, and like I'm starting to wonder if they actually needed to add all of those the base damage like increases, even if it's just by 5 to I don't know how many champions that they had changed, or add all of those changes, because like it sort of accentuated. I think it ended up accentuating problems instead of resolving them.
Yeah, one of the problems is on like we see that AD jungler, like assassin junglers are strong, since they can no longer get attack speed from the jungle, and you can't get flat AD anymore. Without the AD buff, they like wouldn't be able to clear it all, and then they'd be really useless. So now they're at sort of a middle ground where they're too strong at clearing, and they have so much damage they can 1v1 everyone. One of the two needs to be tuned back, and I think it's probably the base stats.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah,
but that's all tweaking they can do on the PvE. Like I think they're just gonna need like several weeks of testing to get like. I mean, there's always going to be a garbage champion and a good champion in the meta. That's always how it's going to work. But at least I'm happy that the meta isn't gated by an item right now.
That's nice.
Like that's almost always the case in League. But
sure.
Right now,
that's kind of my problem. I was out to lunch today with a friend, and I was bitching about League. He doesn't play League; he plays Heroes. So I've been playing Heroes with him for a little bit here and there. And I was bitching about Riot's balance. I think they do a really good job of it. They'll hit the nail on the head more often than they fuck up, but I don't think they want. I don't know if they don't want to admit mistakes or if they just want to keep the game where it is because they're afraid to change something. Like with the whole not locket, fucking what the hell is it called? The Artit Sensor, right? They finally nerfed it at the end of the season, but we still played Worlds on the Artit Sensor patch where it was fucking amazing.
Well, they were scared because they did that the year before and they got huge criticism for changing the game state right before Worlds.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't blame them.
But that's not the point.
It.
We sat on. No, it's not, because we sat on Artit Sensor well before Worlds even started. We sat on that Artit Sensor, and they could have changed, and they could have started to fix the game state from that point. Before Worlds even got there, before in the play-in stages or anything happened, because Artit Sensor was really, really powerful 2 or 3 months before Worlds started, and they were too afraid to change the game state. I'd rather have them change the game state a bit or tweak the item a little bit more than they did before we went in the World, so we didn't have to fucking deal with that as long as we dealt with it. That's my problem. Like, they let things go on too long. 3 months, and they would have done that. They did that during the normal season. Artit Sensor was good all fucking season. It just took a while for people to figure it out, right? There was people out there building Artit Sensor before we thought it was really good. They took forever to nerf Redemption and whatever else, was out there. Locket of Iron Solari was fucking good forever, and it took them forever to nerf it. I just like to see more tweaks come out and more. Now, I don't even need strategic nerfs. Just nerf something. And if it doesn't work, unnerf it. Right? Like, let's make a change this season, right? Let's change how we're doing our patches, just because we're finally in a time where we can see, what's good, what's bad, and you guys have the ability to hotfix shit if it's not working right.
one of the things I always liked about Worlds that we didn't get this year was kind of seeing a Worlds meta unfold. And this year, you already you knew what the meta was going to be going into it, and you had a suspicion, but it was a really strong suspicion, and that proved 100% true. Like the champions you thought were going to be strong going into Worlds were the champions that were strong. Whereas in past seasons, we've had a lot of cases where things were strong, or things we thought were strong didn't get played at all, or like people had to really adapt to and adjust to it. And because Artit Sensor had been a problem for so long and didn't get resolved, like that was the meta that defined Worlds. And I like seeing those types of things, and it does happen in professional sports too. I can think, like the Kansas City Royals, the year they won, went into the playoffs with an attitude about how they were going to use their bullpen that was totally different from how everybody else was doing things. And so I believe they beat out, I want to say it was the Mets that they beat and everything, because the Mets were leaning on like heavy use from flamethrowing starters and everything, and the Royals were just going straight to their bullpen and everything, and the Royals ended up winning the entire thing. If I'm remembering all of that correctly, it was a few years ago now, so I may be misspeaking, but the point still stands. Like it happens in traditional sports too, where the way the game gets played can totally changed over the course of the season, and then you get to the playoffs and something totally different happens from there. And that's not a fundamentally bad thing. It does make things more interesting than knowing what's going to get played and then seeing all that happen.
Right. We're in a very odd spot with the video game where anything can be nerfed and fixed and changed. There's nothing that's stagnant, and sports, the rules have been stagnant for basically the entirety of the game being available, with some exceptions. So excuse me, I don't really know where I was going with that. I had a point and I lost it. Sorry.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm just thinking we're at the unique, we're at a unique area where Riot can push and pull levers and shit.
But the rules of League of Legends don't change.
No, it's
year to year. It's like there are parameters within the game that change, but that does happen in traditional sports as well.
Sure. I'm sure there's
it just happens on a much more frequent basis in competitive gaming.
Esports ready, boys. That's what League of Legends is. Well, I think we're done. I think I'm done bitching. I could bitch for another hour, but I'm sure people at this point are 20 minutes of me in their ear complaining about this season, making it sound like I hate this game completely. I don't completely hate the game. I still playing it. I'm just on a very tilted loss streak at this point, and I need something to change.
You and I have worked so hard for some losing efforts lately.
At the beginning of the season, I played 20 games, and I think I went 4-16 because I was just trying out new stuff, and it felt really frustrating. But then when I started to figure out what I like or what was good, which happened to be what I liked playing, AD assassins and tanks, then I started having a bit more fun. But yeah, going on those big loss streaks makes you feel bad, honestly. Sometimes you just need to step back, play some PUBG.
Yep, that's what I'm playing. PUBG. Played some Heroes. Got
Speaking of it,
Heroes.
Finally feels good. Like my old computer setup, PUBG would run so hot that I couldn't use my laptop keyboard, so I had to prop it up on some deck boxes for Magic and then throw my keyboard underneath. Yeah. I used to get like 1 kill a round. Now I've at least got a few more, so it feels nice.
That's good.
Yeah, just wait till the changes PUBG come out. You can actually vault over things and whatnot. The PvE. Oh man. Anyway, this isn't PUBG podcast. This
is all lost at me.
It's a very fun game, but it's also very frustrating. But let's you know what? We got a whole handful of listener questions, and I'm done rubbing my face and whatnot now. So we can talk listener questions. If you guys want to write us, feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. I'm willing to read whatever you guys write us. Well, just about. I'm gonna pick and choose. But with that said, we're gonna go Crafty War Hero 54 writes in. Last season, I mainly played support and mid. My character pool consisted of Veigar, Morgana, Soraka, Ahri, and Lux, who I consider my main. Lux, his main. I find it hard to CS at all with these champions. I thought that maybe I wasn't meant to be a laner and that I was just bad at CSing. Then about a month ago, I tried Yasuo while he was free and fell in love with the way he works. I now play him the most because he's fun and can actually get a good CS score with him while contributing more in the game. But I play him top. Do you have any suggestions on who I should play during the preseason? Man, that is a...
I remember reading this one and thinking, how can I cut it down while it's still making sense and everything? And at first I was like, I could just say, do you have any suggestions on who I should try playing top? But then it's like, no, there's important context behind a lot of this. So
you just play Heimerdinger and then let him CS for you. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It's a bad way.
The better way to go about this question isn't who you should play. It's what you should be working on. And if you feel that Veigar, Morgana, Soraka, Ahri, and Lux are all, you're really bad at CSing with these champions, you really just need to go and practice your CSing. You're probably finding it easier to CS with Yasuo, or at least you were during preseason, because he has higher base AD than the rest of these champions. So, you know,
like someone like Pantheon kind of jumps to mind in that regard.
Pantheon. He's a disgusting champion right now. Like, he was good
really
before
good.
the preseason, and now he's insane. He's like hands down the best laner in League of Legends. It's like impossible to lane against that guy.
So maybe Pantheon's gonna get banned. But
I like almost always ban him now.
Well, it sounds like you like characters. Yasuo is high APM, high skill cap champion. Pantheon, not so much, but still does really well. I would continue to go.
Pantheon's different though. Like, these are all like scaling late game long range mages, basically.
In the past, I would have recommended Renekton, but not now, not right now. At least bruisers are not having a good time of it.
Yeah, this one, Crafty War Hero 54. You may have found that champion you like playing, but I'm just going to always default back to the option. I'm going to default back to the idea that you really should just, if you enjoy playing Lux or any of these mages, you need to buckle down and learn to CS. And this goes on for anybody that's available. We've had a lot of podcasts about CSing properly and CS and trading and whatnot. And with the changes to how everybody is. There are changes to base stats. It technically should be easier for you to CS because everyone's CSing at about the same rate at this point. So
actually, okay, if I'm looking at this and he says he finds it hard to CS with all of these champions, I'm going to point out that Morgana, Soraka, and Lux all have kind of wonky feeling auto attacks that can make it a lot more difficult. And if he suddenly played a melee and found that to be much, much easier, it might just be a case where you're going to find melee champions that aren't named Rumble. Like just generally more fluid and easier to CS with. And so maybe like take a hint from like your Yasuo enjoyment and think, okay, maybe I've been going at it wrong with all these range champions and I should start looking at the melee champs. And if you really like the high burst style, then go for more of the assassins like Pantheon and Talon and that type of thing.
You could always try to play Jace too. He's a pretty good mix of the two.
You could try Zed as well.
Yeah, if you want a bruiser like, Aurelia or
Aurelia's strong right now. Jax is pretty good. York's good. But yeah, honestly, I agree with these two guys. You have to learn how to CS properly. And Lux, of all five of those characters, has the best CSing because of the baby sheen on her passive. So you should be able to clear out waves pretty easily. But honestly, just go into a custom and grind it out because it's worth learning.
That's right. All right, next question. Animal Daddy writes in, do you have any tips and pointers on how to play Gangplank? I just picked him up for the preseason. Where's Santana?
Yeah, I know. One of the things I just recently saw, and had never really been paid a whole lot of heed to, was dropping the barrel and then auto attacking it once instead of waiting for it to tick down and then throwing your second barrel to chain them and everything just to speed things up a little bit. That's more towards the early stages of the game. I don't play enough Gangplank to ever bother learning those types of tips and tricks myself and everything. So when I noticed that, noticed somebody else do that, I'm like, oh, that was really smart, and I don't see a lot of Gangplanks doing that.
Yeah. Also, I mean, don't quote me on this, but my close friend, the top laner, Evselin, who's on the Jax podcast, he mentioned to me always when we come up against Gangplanks, the good Gangplanks poke people with their Q so that they can trade with them better in lane. They don't use their Q to last hit. That's what I've been told. And it makes sense to me because then if someone does come into your melee range to try and grab a trade, at least you've poked them down with your ranged advantage. Right. So then you can get an even trade and not just get shoved out of lane because you're a squishy, gold-dependent champion.
And that's why some GPs previously were taking Klepto.
Yeah,
absolutely. You absolutely have to master the timing of dropping a barrel and then dropping another one and getting the chain off right off the bat.
Yeah,
a triple barrel.
The dude is a difficult champion to play. So if you really want to master him, I would go and watch a OTP Gangplank stream. Or ask Santana when he comes back. I mean, isn't Tobias Fate? He still plays, still streams a lot. The guy's got good mechanics. Bad decision making at times.
Just turn off his just turn off his voice.
Really? I think he's a funny dude.
Oh, we have different opinions.
Fair enough.
He's a funny guy.
The guy's good at Gangplank though, so
he is. He's very good.
Worth watching if you want to learn how to lane.
All right, let's talk about the next question. Aquario. I previously won Trick Sejuani and since have picked up Warwick. Should I stick to the jungle for Season 8 or play jungle and top? If I had top lane, I'd like to add Gnar, Swain, and Rumble.
Hell yeah, stick to the jungle.
Do it.
I played. Those are my most two played champions. I mean, and Shyvana over the last 3 seasons, and they're both great. You don't need to switch to the top lane if you feel like you're not carrying. Just maybe learn how to snowball games through ganks a little bit more.
I kind of feel like if you feel like you're not carrying right now out of the jungle, I really think it's on you. I think there's no role right now that has more sway over the game than jungle.
Yep. Absolutely. Jungle's in a great spot right now, and those characters are both in great spots. So just pick whatever you... I mean, Warwick, you can pick it to any team comp. Sejuani is particularly good against other junglers that can't take advantage of your sort of like weaker early game. And they both got great ganks. And they can both snowball games. Like if you get a lead on Sejuani, she just suffocates you because you can't kill her.
If you
can also check out my stream when I start.
You can add Xin Zhao, aka other Warwick.
Yeah, Xin Zhao's really good.
He's super good.
Yakutoba writes in.
Sean has been loving Udyr.
Yeah, but Sean's always loved Udyr.
But Sean didn't play much Udyr last season, and I've seen him play more Udyr than any other champion so far during preseason here.
To be fair, he does that every time Udyr is decent or good.
Yeah.
So
Udyr's good.
And Udyr is pretty good right now. Just don't be... If you're going to play jungle, do remember it is still a team game, and while you may be ahead and very powerful, you shouldn't be split pushing side lanes all the time. I don't want to say you shouldn't be doing it ever, because there's always those niche scenarios where it happens, but you should still be focusing on ganks and skirmishes and team fights and objectives over leaving your team high and dry. I see too many new junglers that leave teams high and dry that are playing, for one, Udyr, who think that I'm going to be Trick 2G and just split push and do that all game. Meanwhile, the enemy jungler has done just the opposite and snowballed her team. So.
Right. But you're not being Trick 2G because he's got great jungle knowledge in my opinion. Just sometimes he tilts way too easily.
Sure.
So what he does, like any good junglers, you snowball the hell out of your team in the early game as much as possible. And then when it comes to the point where you're split pushing, you split push so that you can bring multiple people to your lane so that your team can get an objective. And if your team is not getting an objective off you split pushing, stop split pushing, group with your team, and kill them, because the only time you want to split is when you're actually strong.
Yeah, there are way too many people out there who think that they should decide they're going to split push at the start of the game, and then split pushing is the only thing they should do. Like, good or bad, they're just going to keep split pushing irrespective of what's going on elsewhere on the map. And then, they are... pushing down an inner turret when the opponents are taking the nexus, because they're just unwilling to do anything else. And the team is pinging, team's doing everything they can to be like, hey, top laner, or hey, jungler, come back to the fucking base and help us out here, because this strategy that you are trying is not working, but the game is lost.
Yeah, Udyr is excellent at both team fighting and split pushing, and a lot of split pushers are actually serviceable team fighters. Even Trinity, if you E-flash onto their AD carry, they're probably going to die in 2 auto attacks. You just have to decide when to split push versus when not split pushing. And I know this isn't technically our discussion, but I will briefly go over for 1 minute why you would want to split push. The first criteria you have to meet to be able to split push is that you are stronger than any single player that they can send to your lane. Right, so if you're usually a top laner or a jungler, you have to be able to 1v1 someone and kill them under the tower, most likely. If they send 2 people, it's ideal that you could, at least fight both of them. But like I said before, if your team is not taking advantage of the pressure you're using, then there's no point of doing it.
Right, I mean, in some respects, it's the enemy team saying, we can do more in a 5v4 than that one person can by themselves with no resistance.
Yeah.
And if the opponent team can do more, if you're looking at that equation and you're the one who's about to split push, the opponent team can do more to your team without you there than you can by yourself. Split pushing is the wrong answer.
Yeah. And one more thing, if you're on the other side of a powerful split pusher, so if they have a 10-0 Master Yi who's split pushing, you guys group as 5 and hard engage onto their team. And if you didn't pick hard engage, well then you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, then it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, that's how you counter split pushing, is forcing 5v4 fights. Yep. Quick rant on split pushing. We can continue.
I like it. Yakatoba writes in, I feel that my awareness and communication with my teammates is one of my strengths, but that isn't really taken advantage of in solo queue. I found that even playing by myself, I have more success in Flex, where I recently made Platinum. Congratulations. I recognize the part of my success may be playing with higher level solo queue players that have lower Flex rankings, but I find that I carry pretty hard in these games as well, and succeed against players that have high plat, low diamond in the mid lane. Why do I struggle to carry my mid to gold games in solo queue, but able to consistently carry in high ranked players in Flex?
Todd recently, not recently, but a little while back, he was complaining about Flex Q. And it ultimately was that the champion he loves to play, Garen, does not thrive in a more organized environment, and that is really what Flex Q is striving to and often does offer. And so while Todd will continue to play Flex Q with us and everything, and he's going to stand by his guy because he's a really good player, I was able to sort of appreciate that lament from him, because the specific type of champion and the way he prefers to play this game do not, don't succeed as well or don't thrive in Flex queue. And so that might be what you're encountering here, is like you prefer the more organized environment. Your specific strengths tend to lend themselves to what works better in Flex queue, because there is more organization going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. The same thing. I mean, I can't really point to mid as much because I don't play it very much, but like out of the jungle, for example, Shyvana, excellent jungler right now, really, really good in solo queue, terrible in Flex queue because she is easy to counter with communication. Same thing goes for champs like Shaco. So out of mid lane, you maybe play, like if you play like a Zillion or Morgana or something like a supporty type mid laner, you may be really good in Flex because you said your communication's good, you're good at roaming. But yeah, you probably just have to be a bit more selfish when it comes to solo queue. You have to put your teammates on your back and carry, rather than diverting the power to trusted teammates when it comes to Flex. Like when I play Flex, I always know that I can, if I, let's just say like I camp Todd, like he's probably going to pop off and kill everyone. But if I'm in solo queue and I camp some random top laner, it might not always work because that top laner may be auto-filled. So you really have to just take things into your own hands.
So you feel that your awareness and your communication are two of your strongest skills. Those are really, really good skills to have in Flex queue, and they will usually translate into, important objectives. I mean, wins ultimately, because you know what to do next. You know what to, the key things to look for, and you know how to just guide the team. We're probably in comms with you to begin with, but if nothing else, they are, even when you're playing solo Flex, the team is still inclined to be more organized about things. You have to figure out what you're going to do when the team doesn't want to listen to you on stuff. You can't just dig your heels in and say, well, we should be doing this. I don't know what why we're not doing this, and then just whine about it. And we have absolutely all been there being like, why aren't we doing Dragon right now? Why aren't we doing Dragon right now? Like, that's probably my biggest complaint during every solo queue game I ever play. But you have to know what to do next, even if the team is not going to listen to you. You have to figure out how to play around that. That's
really an excellent point. So out of the mid lane, you usually want to be with your team grouped. So if you're playing someone like a Corki or Katarina or an assassin, you don't necessarily have the tools to engage or something like that when you know the time is right, because you say your knowledge is your best part. So if you're playing in gold and you think you can definitely climb to diamond, you're going to know what to do when compared to your teammates. So if you put yourself on a character that is able to make more plays, then you can use your decision making to win games for you. It's why you can climb to master tier with Amumu and stuff like that. Not because they're excellent junglers, just because they create opportunities for you to use your strong decision making. So maybe Twisted Fate, Malzahar, Vigar, anyone with sort of a ranged crowd control ability, Annie, those would all be great for you, because then you can use your sort of decision making to influence games more.
Yeah, Annie's always good.
Yeah.
You can get electrocute off with Annie pretty well, right? You have to do three separate attacks, right? It can be any three separate. Yeah, it can be any three separate attacks. So QWR, boom, you get electrocute proc off. So
good.
Yep, looking for burst damage. All right, let's talk about Dakotas Question here. When I first started playing League, I fell in love with Jax, and he's defined who I've played since then. I love champions who thrive in mainly fights?
Manly fights.
Manly fights. Oh, there's not an I there. Okay. Manly fights. I love champions who thrive in manly fights. People like Udyr, Jarvan, and Olaf. But I decided to hate myself enough to learn a role that I've never actually bothered to play, mid-lane mages. So what tips do you guys have for someone who wants to completely shift the way to play the game after 4 years of build habits and game sense?
Dude, just play Jack's mid. No, it's really hard to do.
I love the line, but I've decided I hate myself enough to learn a role that I've never bothered to play.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's
the only way to learn a role that you don't ever bother to play is just to go in and start fucking playing it. I mean, there's 100 resources, right? You can. Unfortunately, I can't say listen to us because we have a mid laner that'll tell you a lot. We don't. We've never had a mid laner, ever. Never have it. I mean, Randhurt doesn't even count. We've never had a mid laner on this fucking show. You go find YouTube videos of the champion you like to play. If you like to play Victor, there's some really good Victor players out there. A really good resource.
Mid laner.
Well, yeah. I guess.
No, he was a mid laner.
We don't need a mid laner to answer this question, though, because it's just like anything. Like, how do you transition from playing a top lane fighter into a support, playing Enchantress support or whatever? I said support
yeah, I mean,
twice.
like that.
How would you do that? The same principles apply. You have to break down what you want new and learn new skills.
You know what? Something that's an underutilized utility is the insert champion name mains subreddit. So if you like to play Victor, go Victor mains and then look at like the top posts of all time or even the top posts in the last 24 hours. There's a lot of memes on those subreddits, but there's also a lot of good information even on the sidebar. Some of it may be old, but it's still a fantastic resource for that one specific champion you want to play. And then you can start watching that person's YouTube videos. Yep. There's a lot of master and challenger players and whatnot that frequent those subreddits. And you could find those specific players and start watching their playstyle to learn what they are doing and why they're doing it. And just so, in my opinion, if you understand a champion and you're comfortable on a champion, you can learn how to play that role more comfortably and better. So like if you really like a Nivea and you go in mid lane and you're good at just controlling the wave and whatnot. Now we can go watch how a good Nivea player plays and start to emulate. Well, this Nivea is walking here and why and da, and suddenly all those mid lane mechanics start pouring in. I think it's better to master the champion than it is to master the lane, because the lane is easier to learn after you don't have to worry about how you play your champion anymore.
Yeah, you'll learn the lane through the champion once you master them. It's a great point. I think. So you go for it.
I was gonna say one of the things I think you're gonna struggle with is figuring out what to do when your abilities are on cooldown. A lot of the champions that you play tend to have really low cooldown abilities. Some of them high impact, some of them low impact and everything, but it's all about like using more abilities and then doing, auto attacking a lot during a fight. And mages are very different. It's like, it's all about using your abilities to deal a ton of damage and then hanging around to make sure that you can deal more damage once your abilities are back up. Getting auto attacks in here and there, but like understanding that there's a high opportunity cost for using your auto attacks, because you could turn around and get auto attacked or gap closed on or something, and you don't have the HP and resistances to deal with that like you're used to with Jax and Udyr.
Yep. I was just going to say, you guys have all made great points, and I will finally touch on a good resource and one I like to watch a lot of mid lane, at least to learn how to play it, even though I don't really enjoy playing it. As I watch this guy called Mid Beast. He's on YouTube. He's got like 60,000 subscribers. He's really funny. He's got a nice voice, and he always breaks down Apto games, who's like one of the best solo queue players of all time, if not the best. A guy who loves to climb on like Twisted Fate and Cassid and stuff like this. And he breaks down his games and tells you exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. And I mean, some of the games that he breaks down, like Apto is just going even in mid lane, but he ends up winning the game just because his decision making is excellent. And the guy breaks down all of the reasons why he makes certain decisions. And a lot of it is just not dying. That's what it comes down to in the end. And that can be hard to do when you're transitioning from hard early game scrapping fighters. But yeah.
Awesome.
Follow
Beast, go
points.
check it out.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, last question that's in the document for today. I'm going to go ahead and answer this as soon as I read it, because I think coming from another game that I can help you out here. Inky Pinky writes in, I've been playing bot games for a year or so, but every time I play a PvP game, it seems to be a huge difference. I don't want to drag my team down, so I don't play PvP, but I really want to play with my friends, and they play PvP. But in the few PvP I've played, I feed and we lose. What are the biggest differences between bots and PvP games? Any tips on transitioning from bots to PvP? Inky, what I would say is talk to your group of friends and tell them what you want to do. And mention to them, I haven't really played against other players all that often, and I feel that I need to play against them. I want to get better at this game. I need to play against them. If you have a group of people that are understanding and willing to play with you in normal games, you're going to learn very quickly. Your group of friends they should be teaching you just based on their actions by telling you to go places, and you should be willing to listen and learn. So if somebody says, we need to go dragon right now, then this happens. Or, your group of friends should be willing to answer any question you have at any point in time. When I was playing PUBG for a little bit there, I played a couple, like an hour here or there with my buddy Wrecker. I asked him 100 questions. Why are you playing in this mode? Why are you doing this? Dude, I'm really bad. I'm going to average 0 kills. No big deal. Just follow me. And every time I ask a question, they might troll you a little bit, but eventually you're going to get that answer because it's just, that's how friends are. So asking questions, finding that right group of people to play with, and join the Discord, discord.trinityforcenetwork.com, and go in there and say, listen, I'm brand fucking new. All I play is bot games. Would anybody willing to teach me this game? I guarantee people in that league, in our community, will take you under the wing and help you play.
Yeah, I always play with listeners, and they're all really great. I always have a lot of fun. And I remember my sister started playing, and she wanted to learn because I was playing a bunch, and she played a few Rift games with me, and she just hated how competitive it was, but she still liked the game a lot and loved the characters. So she went to ARAMs, and she's probably got like 2,000 ARAM games. she's a really good player, but she just has no interest in the Rift. So there's nothing wrong with trying out other modes too.
The difference between bots and PvP games, and I guess I can't speak 100% to the Q bots games, but custom bot games, definitely I've played plenty of those. The big difference ends up being that at a certain point you can predict what the bots are going to do. Yes. Whether consciously or subconsciously, and you're, especially at low MMR, you're never going to be able to predict what the other people are going to do.
That's your goal.
Because they are, ironically, that's the end goal and everything. But like, they're not going to do what you expect. Like, they're not going to make the correct decision. But they're not going to make the correct decision because they are like intentionally making the wrong decision. Like, it's just sort of like, no, I think this is the right thing to do, even though objectively something else is the right thing to do. And so there's always going to be, sometimes they will, like, whereas bots will reliably dodge in a certain way, for example. People might not do that. So you will cast a skill shot thinking they are going to dodge this way, and I'm predicting that dodge, and maybe they just don't dodge at all, and that totally throws you off. Or maybe they dodge the other way, and then you guessed wrong. Or you thought you were leading them, and then they just stopped, and so you cast your skill shot and you didn't connect because they just threw you off. Like, there's just the element of unpredictability is probably what's really throwing you off in the transition from bot to PvP games. And once you start to wrap your head around, I guess, that concept or figure out how to work within those confines, you'll start to be more successful.
I agree. I think that's perfect.
That's a great point, Dom. Very well said. It's funny how that's the end goal, hey? To be able to predict what the enemy's going to do. And it's true, like, if I play against people who are in bronze, maybe not bronze 5 because that's a different world. But, right. In like higher bronze, it's pretty obvious to predict what people are going to do, and it almost seems like you're playing against bots again. So it's cool how it sort of comes full circle.
There we go. That's it. I think we'll end there. We ended there, all the listener questions. We bitched about League for a bit, but, we end up having fun at the end of the day, and hope you have fun as well. Something that, as a side note here, as we transition to the end of the podcast and move into Wednesday, I'm going to talk to see if we can't get Skyen on for Zoe on Wednesday, by the way, is that if there is a podcast app or a service you use to listen to shows or you would like to listen, and our show is not available on that platform, please email us feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com. Tweet at me at TFPWN, or tweet at the show at TForce Network. You can tweet at any of the other guys on this podcast as well, and they'll get a hold of me somehow. And let us know. I just had somebody ask about Acast. I've never heard of it, but I'll look into it. Spotify. Somebody asked me why it wasn't there. And I'm going to look into trying to get the podcast on Spotify as well. I want to get this podcast out as many places. So if you have some kind of app, the story I always tell is a very long time ago, a listener emailed us and said, hey, I have a Microsoft-powered car, and I'm able to download podcasts in my car via my Wi-Fi. Can you get it in my car? And I got it there. Just for this one dude, because I just signed up and put the podcast automatically goes there because of RSS. So I'm happy to do it, even if you're just one person that wants it on a specific app. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to get it on there, but I just want to throw it out there.
I'm worried this is like a Pandora's box situation. Now you're going to have like 40 different just obscure podcast aggregators or something, or apps or whatever it is that you suddenly have to try to figure out how to get yours on.
I'm okay with it. I will only put the show on the aggregator if they will serve from our RSS. If I have to manually upload the show every single time, I'm not going to use your app. I think this Acast thing I'm looking at, I'm going to look into it because this guy asked for it, but I think I have to manually upload the show, and I'm not going to do that, primarily because I love you. You're one listener, but I'm not uploading the show to an app for just you. I will do it if it automatically pulls from our from RSS and will aggregate automatically, but I'm not gonna manually go out of my way to do that. You can just download it from the website. So yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Anything else? Nothing? Good. All right, we're done. That's it. Episode 491 of the Trinity Force podcast is in the books. Women, children, fellow listeners, we'll see you all next week. Peace.
Bye, friends.
Ladies and gents.